The key, I think, to psychedelics is the narrative. If you put someone in a room, white walls, white bed, lie down here, take this tablet, I'll be back in 8 hours, and it's LSD, you'd probably drive them mad. Most people would go mad if they didn't know what was going to happen and the effect of it, had no warning whatsoever, and were naive about psychedelics. The point to that is it's the narrative, I think, that goes with the psychedelic drug that's the key. So let me give you some context. So if I was raised in South America, excuse me, and I became involved in ayahuasca ceremonies, and they talked about the spirit of the plant and so forth and so on, the various rituals, and that would be the story that went with the narrative, would explain the experience that one has, the subjective experience. If you come to me and I can prescribe psilocybin, at the moment, by law, you'd have depression, and I would assess you and see whether you're suitable for the treatment or not. And it's not just psychedelics, it's psychedelic-assisted psychotherapy. So the context of that treatment would be a psychotherapeutic healing thing in modern era, so medicine. So that's the other context. Now, if I was part of Charles Manson's group, and Charles Manson told me that when we take this LSD, we're going to go and murder people, that would be the context too. So the context is really important. And there was a guy, I can't remember his name, someone here might know, who was a great maker of LSD in California back in the 60s or whatever it was. And he just made one type, but there was some that were blue and there were some that were red, and they had their various names. And people would insist upon that particular LSD because that did that to you, or you take that one because that did that to you. And so there's very much there's a lot of suggestion, and we call it set and setting, the mindset that you take into the experience and the setting, the person that you're doing it with, the guide or the place or whatever it might be. So all those things are really powerful. The drug itself, I think, is just a technology. It's always been a technology, and as you probably all know, it's not the technology, how you use the technology that's the key. And so so if we accept that, then the point that I would like to make is, from my experience with prescribing psychedelics and thinking about it a lot and seeing people who've had psychedelic experiences, it's not for everybody. I don't think it is for everybody. Some people, I think, are more amenable to the experience. They're often people who have some sort of spiritual structure or scaffolding in their mind. They're seekers, and they're looking for new experiences. They're people who can relate well to others and to other things in their environment. They're flexible. They're prepared to take risks. They're the people, I think, that do better. And I'm talking in a psychiatric context or a medical context, but I think generally speaking, we all know people have had bad trips, or you might have had bad trips yourself, and you might have one bad trip and never want to do it again. So the individual is just as important as the drug, as important as the narrative. Now, the question really beyond psychedelics, so I think that psychedelics can open you up to incredible experiences. Some people have profound mystical experiences and can be shown all sorts of things through those experiences. But some people might not know what to do with those experiences. You might have a unity experience or an oceanic experience where your ego is deflated and you become one with everything, and that's a very profound experience. But if you don't have the sort of background or the nous, you may not really do anything with it. And I think that for psychedelics, and I know from a personal experience what psychedelics, I'm an old guy, and I took LSD back in the 60s and 70s when it was legal. I had some psychological problems then myself, and they really helped me. But they also pushed me in a particular direction, particularly with my affinity for nature and also my real interest in non-ordinary states of consciousness. So I became a meditator, those sorts of things. So I think you can have a psychedelic experience. It's what you do with it. Psychedelics are not something that I think people, even though Huxley did, he took one every week. Aldous Huxley took LSD on his deathbed. I wouldn't advise that. I think that psychedelics are something that you have an experience with you, learn something, and then you've got to do the work. If you've had an insight or a profound experience and you feel that it's shown you something, then what do you do with that? And a lot of people don't do anything with it, and that's fair enough too. But I guess what I'm agreeing with Tim is that, yes, it is available to some people and it can have profound effects if you do something with it, but I don't think it's going to change the world. And I think we're in a really difficult situation now where, I mean, how can we use psychedelics to improve our culture now? We can talk about what's the word I'm looking for? Evolutionary spiritualism. That's what I'm talking about. Where we're all heading towards some amazing experience. Where we're all enlightened. We're pro-social. We're pro-environmental. Maybe we are, but that sort of thing often produces spiritual narcissism, whereas, I'm one of these great people and I'm really aware of the world and I'm going to change the world. And Maslow really encouraged that with, peak experiences only for certain people who could, Ken Wilber too, they all encourage this sort of special type of, I don't think that really helps the world at all, and I think it just makes people feel more grandiose about themselves, because I think really, if psychedelics work, what the key to psychedelic experiences is humility, not grandiosity, that you're just part of some incredible system, mysterious system. I'm big on mystery, and this mystery becomes sort of noetically apparent to you, but it just shows you that you're just a cog in the wheel, that you're just part of something extraordinary and you're nothing special. That to me is a true psychedelic outcome. And in this world that we live in, consumerism, capitalism, Trumpism, we're a long way from that at the moment, and I don't think putting LSD in the water supply is really going to reverse that in a hurry, and it would probably just create more psychosis. I've probably run out of time, have I, Tim? I think that's probably enough. Happy to continue this discussion later. Thank you very much.